Welcome folks, I'm Livid. Developed by Konami and released for North America in April 2003 on the Game Boy Advance, Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition, Stairway to the Destined Duel is a modified international version of the Japanese Yu-Gi-Oh! Game called Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters 6 Expert 2. For the rest of this video, I'm going to refer to this game as Stairway, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition, Stairway to the Destined Duel is a pretty lengthy name. This video will be about my experiences playing through the game for the first time. Stairway is the second Yu-Gi-Oh! Game I've played for my channel. The first one was Eternal Duelist Soul. Eternal was the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Game I had played as a kid and I loved it back then. But upon replaying it, it was okay. It was very simplistic and straightforward. The AI totally cheated, but it was classic Yu-Gi-Oh! And I had a lot of nostalgia for it, and it had great music. There will be a lot of comparisons to that game, so check out that video and come back here if you'd like. If you end up liking this video and would like to see more Yu-Gi-Oh!, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm also trying out a different layout for the video where you can see me and the chat from my stream. I really want feedback if you do or don't like it, or even if you don't care. I usually just show gameplay and narrate over it, and I'm fine doing that too. Thanks for letting me know. Let's get started. As mentioned previously, there's a lot of comparisons to Eternal Duelist Soul because there are a lot of things pulled directly from it. You start the game with 3 different deck choices that have different styles. The layout during the duels is identical. Most of the packs are identical, at least at the start. There are weekly promotional cards from magazines. And at first this made me quite disappointed. Between the similarities to Eternal Duelist Soul and my stream connection going down during a storm, I had lost a bit of motivation to play the game. But my despair became determination, and I decided to finish this game out. And I'm glad I did. Stairway actually did add a surprising amount of content that made it feel much better than playing Eternal. The most prominent thing is the map. The map and some of the story elements are based on the Battle City arc from the manga and anime. The Battle City arc saw duelists competing in Seto Kaiba's tournament to find the best duelists in the world, and their best cards. I won't go into too much detail on that though because the game doesn't. It's just a Battle City setting for the most part until the late game. For my playthrough, I chose the red deck. It seemed to be based off of a Yugi theme with Karibos, Dark Magicians, and Celtic Guardian. It was actually a pretty good deck for a starter deck. There is a bit of a grind to this game to improve your deck. You go around the map interacting with duelists from the show, and after defeating them you get to choose from a pack of cards. The issue is, most of the time the cards from these packs absolutely suck. This can be a bit discouraging and take a bit of time to collect the things you need. But this does cause a phenomenon where when you finally get a card you want in your deck, you get really excited. You could use the code machine interaction where you could punch in the card numbers of real cards from classic Yu-Gi-Oh! And get them in your game for free. This is something I did in Eternal because the grind was much more prevalent there than here. However, just like in that playthrough, my deal with chat was I was going to try my best not to use any codes until the grind became too much. I wanted to try and build my deck from within the game itself. There is a satisfaction to using the resources the game gives you that maybe 1 or 2 cards could make your deck finally feel more efficient. In my case, it was getting cards like Torrential Tribute, which wipes the board if a creature is summoned. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Even just a normal card like Dark Witch with 1800 attack power is a huge card for me, since these normal monsters with high attack power are pretty good in classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Witch was likely my MVP because I couldn't find any Gemini Elves or Vorse Raiders. A few people asked what type of deck I was going for in chat, but unfortunately, given the level of grind in the game, I didn't really have the luxury to be too creative. I mostly went for objectively good cards in this era. Normal monsters with high attack, and a few for defense. Then a couple single tribute monsters like Summon Skull. Although the grind for packs isn't always fun, there is much less grind for progression, which I greatly appreciate. To unlock new duelists, you just have to do simple things like win a few battles. For example, losing 5 times will unlock Mokuba, Seto Kaiba's little brother who is also awful at the game. You can beat up on Mokuba for easy packs, which is certainly what I did. In Eternal, unlocking the next bracket of duelists would mean beat the first set 5 times, then the next set 10 times, and so on. In Stairway, it's much easier to progress with only having to beat them a few times. The hardest early game duelist has to be Bakura. This guy kicked my ass. He's also responsible for how I unlocked Mokuba with having lost to Bakura like 4 times of the 5 required losses. The big bully card early in this game is called Goblin Attack Force, and more than one duelist has this card. It has 2300 attack with 0 defense. The drawback is that upon attacking, it changes to defense position and cannot be changed back until after their next end phase. Now that's pretty fair, it's basically a glass cannon. It can usually kill something it's going after, but then will likely be destroyed by pretty much everything with 0 defense. But if the opponent happens to have mirror forces or other things to disrupt the gameplay and they get to switch back into attack mode, it's going to be trouble. Throughout the game, there are different events and challenges. The Challenge Cup and Kaiba Core Cup are every month. You make your way through 3 opponents to win the tournament. In the Kaiba Core Cup, Kaiba will always be an opponent, which makes sense. Then there's the weekend tournaments every weekend, and they suck ass. You battle a single opponent in a best of 3 match, but your reward is a single pack of random cards that you don't get to choose from. And I swear, these cards are even worse than anything you could have picked for yourself. This is where I coined the term ass pack because all the cards inside were full of booty. Target Week is an event that gives you 2 target duelists you must hunt down in the big city. Upon finding and defeating them, you get access to a unique pack type only obtainable for Target Week completion. Then there's the limitation tournaments, which are 10 rounds. This is actually unlocked after defeating the game, and it adds different further restrictions to your deck, like only including certain types of cards or excluding even more cards. Upon defeating this tournament, you get the ability to turn off all limitations. So now your deck can have 3 copies of any card in the game, 3 Pot of Greeds, 3 Monster Reborns, 3 of anything. Over time, the rabble known as ghouls will be reported to be lurking around the city. This is also where the game's story and endgame start to emerge. There are 5 ghouls that you can encounter by speaking with passengers. If you lose to them, they steal your cards, so the stakes are high. Rare Hunter runs an Exodia deck. He's trying to find ways to assemble all the pieces of Exodia in order to win the game immediately. Fighting him is always tense because he uses cards like Sengen and Pot of Greed to draw or find more cards to help him achieve his goal. Luckily, he never collected all the pieces against me, but it's fun with that added tension. Strings, Lumus Umbra, and Arcana have their own themes too, but none of them are really much trouble for me. Odeon, however, is the one I hate most because all he's trying to do is use a ton of trap cards that prolong the game. But the thing is, he isn't trying to win. He just uses a bunch of trap cards to screw you over and then doesn't do much against you. I think the idea is you're just supposed to run out of cards trying to fight him so he can win, and it's pretty funny now that I think of it. Once you defeated all 5 ghouls, the endgame begins. Taya will appear and something is strange about her. It turns out she's under the powers of Merrick, the antagonist to this game. Taya is used to lead the player to the Ghouls Pyramid. The pyramid is broken into 5 chambers and you have to win all 5 games in a row in order to beat the game. Round 1 is against Merrick-possessed Taya. Her deck is all about gaining an absurd amount of life and hoping that you run out of cards. Round 2 was against Rare Hunter, who's trying to summon Exodia. Now this one was a little too close to comfort. Due to Sengen and other cards that revealed what he was getting, I'm pretty sure he had 4 of the 5 pieces he needed to summon Exodia. And I was on the edge of my seat until I won. Round 3 was against Arcana, who runs a Dark Magician deck. This wasn't tough at all, similar to when I fought him in the streets of Battle City. Round 4 is against Merrick-possessed Joey Wheeler running a Burn deck. You want to talk about close? I was down to 500 life points by the end of this duel. All Joey needed to do was draw 1 more burn card and I was smoked. The final match at the tippy top of the pyramid is Merrick himself. Fighting Merrick was about as cinematic as it got. The first obstacle for me was Gravity Bind. What is this? All monster cards at level 4 or higher cannot attack. Their positions may still be changed. How? I don't know how to deal with this. This was going to stop me from pushing the pace against Merrick while he collected more pieces for his strategy. Merrick had played Gravekeeper's Servant, which would mill a card every time I attacked. I needed to find an answer to Gravity Bind or I was going to slowly lose this duel. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to beat that card. Hold on, I have Trap Master, but it'll take a while to find him. Little by little, my deck was being drained of valuable cards and getting closer to losing the duel. Things were getting tense and Trap Master was taking his sweet ass time showing up. But eventually... Okay, so we found Trap Master. Okay. Eventually our boy showed up, but I wasn't out of the woods yet though. I hadn't found a way to deal with the Gravekeeper's Servant, and Merrick was continually messing up my board with cards like Harpy's Feather Duster and Torrential Tribute. Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me? Things were getting extremely tight. I didn't have much cards left, and if I lost here, I lost everything. I'd have to start all over again. I'm being aggressive here, like I just running out of cards, running out of time. Oh my god, I only have 12 cards left. I'm not gonna win now. It'll be like by the skin of my teeth, dude. How many cards? 3 cards left. Come on. Heart of the cards, come on. Mania Bug. But they go for Summon Skull because they're stupid. Oh, okay. Very close. Very, 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 very close. But we got there. Literally discarded my last card from the deck. The last card. I had won. I had to win that turn or I would have lost the duel. But the heart of the cards was with me. Merrick's bitch ass vows to never give up and to defeat us in the next millennium or something. What a sore loser. With Merrick defeated, that's pretty much the game. As I mentioned earlier, the card limitation tournament is now unlocked, and even the ghouls will show up as regular opponents on the map. Yu-Gi-Oh! Stairway to the Destined Duel was pretty fun. I actually enjoyed it more than Eternal Duelist Soul, which is a game I grew up with and had nostalgia for. Simple things like adding a battle map make it feel more alive rather than a simple image portrait of opponents. There was a good amount of grind taken out, which I did appreciate. There are certainly flaws though. Packs are still full of cards you can't really use for anything. More annoying than anything is the AI definitely still cheats. They know exactly what you're playing in face down defense mode and will avoid attacking because they're aware of what it is. But overall, I'm glad I didn't give up and I played out the game. Folks, that's all I've got for Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition Stairway to the Destined Duel. Thank you to my YouTube channel members Quinn and Chris Redbeard, and to my patrons Shio, Lyra, and Eon Kane. If you become a paid member on YouTube or Patreon, I'll shout you out in my videos and you can see what I'm up to in my next ones. Check out my streaming channels to play these games with me. My second channel here on YouTube for streaming is Livid Live, and I'm also on Twitch and Kick as Livid. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.